They text back 3 days late. They pull away right after things get close. They say, "I need space" the moment you say "I love you." If you've ever loved someone like this, or if you are someone like this, stay with me for the next 9 minutes. Because I'm going to break down exactly what's happening in their mind, why it happens on a loop, and what actually breaks the cycle. This isn't about labeling someone broken. Avoidant attachment is a survival strategy that once made perfect sense. By the end of this video, you'll understand the pattern so clearly that you'll be able to spot it in real time in your partner, your friend, or yourself. Let's get into it. Attachment styles form in early childhood, long before we have language for what's happening to us. A child develops avoidant attachment when their caregiver is consistently unavailable emotionally, not necessarily cruel, just distant. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they dismissed the child's feelings with "you're fine, stop crying." Maybe affection had to be earned through achievement instead of just existing. Here's the twist. These children don't stop needing connection. They just learn that expressing that need doesn't work. So the brain does something brilliant and tragic at the same time. It suppresses the need. Not eliminates it, suppresses it. The child adapts by becoming fiercely self-reliant. "I don't need anyone" becomes the internal motto. And it works. It reduces the pain of repeated disappointment. But that coping mechanism doesn't stay in childhood. It grows up with them. And in adulthood, it shows up as a very specific, very predictable cycle in romantic relationships. That cycle has 4 stages. Let's walk through each one. It always starts the same way. The avoidant person is genuinely into someone. They initiate. They text first. They plan the date. In this early stage, avoidants can seem more interested than anyone else because the relationship is still hypothetical. It's still safe. There's no real vulnerability yet, just possibility. This is the part that confuses people later. "But they chased me. They seemed so sure." Yes, because closeness that hasn't happened yet doesn't threaten their independence. The nervous system isn't activated. It's still just a story they're telling themselves about a future that hasn't arrived. The danger, for an avoidant, isn't the person. It's what happens when the person becomes real. When someone starts relying on them. When feelings deepen. When the relationship shifts from exciting idea to actual attachment. That shift is where stage 2 begins. Psychologists call this a deactivating strategy, and it's the heart of the entire pattern. As intimacy increases, the avoidant person's nervous system quietly starts treating closeness as a threat, not consciously, but physiologically. Cortisol rises. The old childhood blueprint activates. Closeness equals eventual disappointment, so create distance before it happens to you again. This shows up in very specific behaviors. They suddenly notice flaws in their partner that didn't bother them before. They get busier at work, conveniently, right when things deepen. They stop initiating contact. Physical or emotional intimacy feels suffocating rather than comforting. They might even provoke a fight, unconsciously, just to create emotional distance. None of this is a calculated manipulation. It feels to them like something is wrong with the relationship or the person. But it's not the relationship. It's the alarm system from childhood going off at exactly the moment real connection is possible. And here's the cruel irony. The withdrawal often happens right after a peak moment of closeness, a great weekend, saying "I love you," meeting family. Closeness triggers retreat. Every time. Now here's where the cycle either breaks or reinforces itself, depending on who the avoidant person is with. If their partner has an anxious attachment style, this is where things get explosive in a very specific, predictable way. The anxious partner feels the withdrawal immediately. Their own nervous system reads distance as danger, so they do the opposite of what the avoidant is doing. They pursue harder. More texts, more questions, more "are we okay?" conversations. This is the single most important thing to understand about this cycle. The anxious partner's pursuit confirms the avoidant's fear. To the avoidant, the increased closeness seeking feels like proof that intimacy really does lead to being overwhelmed, controlled, or engulfed. So they pull back further. The more one person chases, the more the other runs. The more the other runs, the more the first one chases. This is called the anxious-avoidant trap, and it can loop for months, sometimes years, without either partner fully understanding why it keeps happening. Eventually, the avoidant creates enough distance that the anxious partner gives up and pulls back too. And that's when something fascinating happens. The moment the pursuing partner finally stops chasing, the moment they seem like they might actually leave, the avoidant person often feels a sudden pull back toward them. This isn't game playing. It's the deactivating strategy losing its threat. When the partner stops pursuing, the perceived danger of engulfment disappears, and the original attachment need, the one suppressed all the way back in childhood, resurfaces. So the avoidant re-engages. They apologize. They get affectionate again. They say all the right things. And the relationship resets to stage 1. This is why avoidant relationships often feel like a roller coaster of hot and cold. It's not because the person doesn't care. It's because closeness and distance trigger completely different, competing systems in their nervous system. The attachment need and the threat response, and whichever one is louder in the moment wins. Without awareness, this cycle repeats indefinitely. Pursuit, deactivation, response, return, pursuit, deactivation, response, return. So how does it actually stop? For the avoidant person, the work starts with noticing the urge to withdraw before acting on it. That pause, even just naming internally, I'm feeling the pull to create distance, and it's not actually about this person, is often the entire turning point. Therapy, particularly approaches that focus on the nervous system rather than just talk, tends to help enormously here. For the partner of an avoidant person, the counterintuitive move is to stop increasing pursuit when they withdraw. Give space without disappearing. Communicate needs calmly, once, without repeated chasing. This doesn't confirm their fear, it slowly proves the opposite, that closeness doesn't have to mean losing yourself, and space doesn't have to mean abandonment. Attachment styles aren't life sentences. They're patterns learned early, which means they can be updated later through self-awareness, through safe relationships, and often through professional support. If you recognized yourself or someone you love in this pattern, that recognition is genuinely the hardest and most important part. It only gets easier from here. If this helped make sense of something confusing in your own life, hit subscribe. I break down attachment patterns like this every week. I'll see you in the next one.